Hey,
Welcome back.
Unsweetened,
Unsweetened.
episode 4.
Yes, it's been a little while, I understand, but we're back and got a lot to talk about.
Do we?
Yeah, I think we do. I think Ryan had the subject on mind, and I kind of like it.
Well, we kind of previewed that in like episode 1 or 2 when Ryan said, when we were talking about the joke about us talking that night for an hour and a half and not turning the cameras or the the video or the tape on or whatever, because we were just talking.
Yeah.
And we got into such a big discussion about, I guess, I never knew where the conversation actually was going when we got into the argument, because I think it started out as...
Well, let's tell people what we're talking about. First of all, we're talking about the Big Bang and theory behind it all. Brian, Marty, and I had a discussion about it. Go ahead.
Well, no, you go ahead. I mean, we had a discussion about it, but it was kind of like we were playing the protagonist. I was playing the protagonist because you had your Christian, that's where you went back to your Christian or Bible beliefs, which I have a lot of that too.
Yeah, Christian beliefs.
And Ryan was basically on the scientific, way out on the tip of the spear there.
No, that's not true. Okay, let me give you my understanding of how I see this, right?
Okay.
And then I'll show you all a video.
Okay, so before we get into this conversation, first of all, these are opinions.
Yes, 100%.
Nobody's stating anything in particular, because that's really not how the three of us are, except for some points of time we get to that point. So, as long as the three of us all make a pact right now to keep our voices down during this conversation, then I will have this conversation. But if we can't make that promise, because I know what happened the last time, it got loud. And which was okay, because it was even more fun. It was a lot of fun. But I don't want
to get loud between.
It got loud between all three of us, really. I mean, everybody has their, Well, I mean, we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the show. But the show we've been watching, the Ancient Apocalypse, that I got you to watch. The Graham. I can't think of his last name. What's his last name, Ryan?
Graham Hank. Is it
Hancock? What? Yeah, Hancock. Graham Hancock, is it?
Yeah. That's right.
And it's on Netflix. I mean, you just ended up watching season 1. I'd watched it for a while. And season 2 dropped tonight, so we haven't even got a spoiler or anything. So kind of we're gonna need to watch the first episode tonight, kind of see where he goes with. But if you we'll get back to the Ancient Apocalypse thing here in a little bit. But this Big Bang Theory. So as long as we're all cool and we're all going to stay mellow, then I'm okay with this conversation.
Let's rock and roll.
All right, let's rock and roll.
So the whole thing of this conversation was that it originally originated from me and Chase. We were watching something, or something came up when we were upstairs talking about it.
Okay, well, let's not bring other people into it. It's about the third. Let's just talk the three of us.
It's fine. I'm just saying where this conversation started to where it ended up, coming downstairs to talk to y'all about it. My theory behind it is, I'm not a big religious person. I have some issues with religion, with how they're set up in our world. I think they're a little bit corrupt in some ways, and in a lot of ways. I just don't like some of the churches, things like that. I'm not saying that everyone's bad in it, but there's a lot of people who have gone into it that are...
So you're talking about the ideals of church.
Yes, but it's it's more than that. So the thing is that I guess whenever I use the term God, whenever I use it in this sense for the Big Bang, is that I mean more of like a higher power. Not technically the Christianity God or, Islam's God, whatever.
I mean, we understand, but we don't. I mean,
I'm just giving the.
Yeah, I know, but if we stop every time to explain
it's fine.
all the backstory, we'll be here for hours.
Let me keep going. So, my idea is that the Big Bang happened in a sense. The idea is that there's a few theories which here I'll show you guys.
I guess everybody's issue is trying to figure out what's the cause of the Big Bang.
Okay, well,
everybody almost agrees upon the
well, hang on a second.
The fact that there
first
was
of all,
a
we
Big
got
Bang.
what are we debating?
Just
So
wait, if you would listen.
listen to him.
You
Let
can't
him
tell
finish.
us what the
Take a
debate
look
is?
at the thing.
Let him finish.
So there's theories on how or what was before the Big Bang. These are the science ones. Obviously, you know, religion, people believe that God's been there. He's always been there. He created the earth and the heavens and everything before. There's many theories on what they believe is, you know, was there before, which, you know, you have inflation, that the that the universe has basically been ever expanding and it's just continued to expand, and we basically don't know the far end of it. There's also one that states that basically beforehand there was nothing. It was basically, when science says nothing, though, they mean energy that basically we can't define and see right now, because the problem is that energy transitioned into everything around us.
Right.
Okay.
So my thing of it is that the way I see it,
I guess on this episode we should have just had you out here in the chair. And you could have been
sorry,
special
I'm not going to
guest
talk
for
in
the
that
show.
long.
No, you're good. You're good.
Well, no, I don't mind
my-
you being out here. I want
No,
you
it's
to be on this side of the camera sometime, and you don't want to be. So.
The way I see it in the beginning is, the biggest theory right now to me is that there was really nothing in the end. That there was this 0.00000 whatever that started the Big Bang. In my eyes, I've always looked at it as that higher power that put things into play because of how small, you know, that chance was for everything to come into play.
Well, if you're getting going all the way back, people go, well, you can just keep going back before the Earth was, you know, in time and da-da-da. But at some point you get back to think, and there's nothing. What was there before nothing?
Well, that's the point, is that the religion talks
made
about...
No, that's
something
this-
was
this-
nothing.
that's where everybody kind
That's-
of veers off and goes their own path.
Yes. That's why, in my eyes, I kind of do it in the middle. You know, I see it as the Big Bang happened, you know, the science side of it. But on the other end is, I think maybe there was some type of higher power, like God or whatever, that put it into play for it to happen, and has maybe had more of a hands-off.
So what's the video?
So this video is, I believe, I know for sure it's with, Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about it. I forget exactly who he's talking. I want to say it's what's his name? He does the Family Feud or whatever, or not? Is it Family Feud?
Well, just play it.
He's talking with him about the beginning or whatever, and like the theory behind it, and then he brings in a little bit of religion. So just
I was talking one time, and a lady said to me, I said, I believe God created heaven and earth. She said, well, scientifically, it's been proven that it came from a cosmic dust that spun into a ball of gas, and it cooled off. I said, okay, let me ask you something. Where did cosmic dust come from? And then she said, it's part of the universe. I said, where did the universe come from? She says, part of the galaxy. I said, where did the galaxy come from? I'm just trying to get to where something formed something.
We can do that. We say, where did dust come from? It came from the cores of stars, and where did that come from? And then ultimately we get to the Big Bang. Then you say, well, where did the Big Bang come from? And I said, I have no idea. It is a frontier of science. We've got top people working on it. And now, you want to put God there. I don't have a problem with that. But why won't you allow me to ask you, where did God come from?
I was talking one time.
So that's where this whole conversation goes. It's
That's
really,
where this whole conversation went that night. It was just a lot
partial.
more destructive and a lot louder.
Well, I think we got into some topics that weren't.
We got into religion.
Yeah, we got into the whole topic
So-
of what was it, the dome around the Earth,
it
Firmament.
went into
The firmament.
Yeah.
Firmament.
Firmament.
Yeah.
That's where things started to
Right.
take that turn into
Right.
more arguing.
When
at that
people
point.
want to change the definition
And I agree with
of
all
firmament.
that. I agree
You
with.
changed the definition of firmament.
I
I
agree
do.
with all that, what he says, though. I mean, everything's down to that certain point, and once you get to that certain point, you just we don't know. Everybody can just kind of assume, but that's. I mean, as far as science is that's as far as it's going to take us.
So really, what I want is, I want to know y'all's opinion. What you think in the beginning was, because, like he says, there's always that idea that, you know, I'm assuming for Rich, you say probably God did this.
First of all, well, if you want my opinion, First of all, I'm going to go back to my original stance on everything that I always take. Is if the victors wrote history, how much of it is actually true?
But this isn't history. This is science.
It's
Not
both.
not the Bible.
Huh?
Not the Bible.
Well, I'm not talking about the Bible. We're talking
Hang
about
on,
science.
hang
now.
on.
Well, it's both.
It's a little again. It's a little
they
bit
collide.
of both.
They collide.
Alright.
If they gonna lie to you about certain things happening, they've lied to. We've found so much out here just lately that they blatantly just don't tell you the truth. So, that's where the ball spins that way. So how much of the truth? If there is no God, then by everybody else's standards, then there is no universe. There is no nothing.
That's not true.
No, that's. I mean, you got to go by like you.
Unless you
you
go
got,
by.
You got to
but
go by
who-
science.
but
You,
who
science, like I
created
said,
the
to,
Big Bang?
to that
Who-
point.
What created the Big Bang? Something had to create the Big Bang. A Big Bang doesn't happen.
I don't
by
know. It's like
nothing else.
UFOs. Where those come from?
Well, that's one of the theories.
So,
that
I
the
mean,
Big Bang
it's-
did come from nothing. Is that there was energy before that was
Yeah, but that's two energies running into each other,
not
or
it's not
two.
running
Or,
into
that's a. You have to have something to make a bang. Be it neutrons, electrons, be it two satellites, be it two moons. Something had to
Well,
collide.
That's
and that's
where,
force and
that's
energy
where my,
to make a
that's
Big
where
Bang.
that's where my basis comes. My belief comes in is the fact that it's basically the God snap of the finger.
And that's
this
what
is
the
what he
book says.
created, and he created it. Boom.
That's what
You
the
know?
book says.
So,
Well-
that that makes sense up to the point so that we don't know where it was started from, but we know that God's omnipotent. So at that point in time, my belief and why I was raised, that's a very plausible explanation considering the science takes us to that point, and my belief is based upon science and also my belief in the Lord. So I mean, it kind of they meshed both together as far as I'm concerned.
in a way. Science says that the Earth is, millions of years old. If you go off of the Bible, it's like 6,000 or something only years old. And when you talk about the beginning of it, where the creation of the universes and everything like that, it didn't take 7 days like they say in the Bible. But at the same time, when people talk about time in the book, in the Bible,
Yeah,
or
time
whatever, time is something outside of God's
Well,
realm.
7 days could have been 7 months to us.
It could have been no,
It could have
not
been seven.
that.
It
I
could have been
mean,
seconds.
I think they just filled in
Yeah.
7 days as that sense of like he created this on this day, this on this day, this on this
Well-
day, and rather it's just happened over, so long, but they just kind of took that as days, and that's how it translated.
Well, God was speaking to these men that wrote these books of the Bible, and it's the same as to the other books of the Bible that you tell me about that aren't in there. It was they were still spoken to people by a higher power, so to speak, and they wrote these words. Now, and then as it goes throughout time and history, yes, has some things maybe been removed and changed, or maybe the stories aren't all there, but the basic theme and the basic outline of the Bible is, as far as I'm concerned. If there's more details, I'll learn that as I go on in life and as I talk to you. So I learn stuff all the time.
Right.
And you're right. History is written by the victors. So you do have to take certain things into account when you're
I think so. I think
basing
you have to do that when you're reading
your
anything.
beliefs on something.
I mean, you can't read whatever you're reading to it. You have to look at both sides, no matter what you're doing. Even if it's reading, if it's researching, sometimes you have to look at the negativity just to see if it passes a muster.
Nah, I don't always buy that though. Sometimes you don't want to let negativity in. Sometimes
I'm not talking about the negativity.
you can let that
I'm talking about that if you saw something I mean, it's people send me stuff all the time. Sorry about that.
I was a.
We've had people send stuff to, DM me or whatever and say, hey, talk about this on the show. And the first thing I do is go to the comments and start reading down. And most of the time, within the first 5 or 6 comments, people have already determined if it's a joke or if it's, this isn't real, or they've disproved it, or.
Yeah.
And the problem was, for the last 5 or 6 years, the people that have been trying to do that have been censored. Those are the people that have been blocked, removed, blah, 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 blah. Now, you're seeing some of that stuff come through. But going back to the Big Bang, I mean, if you don't have a God, you can't have a Big Bang. And if you can't maybe not have a Big Bang without God, or God without the Big Bang, maybe.
It's not true.
I don't know.
Why do you have to have? Why does that?
I'm not an atheist or anything like that, so you have to ask somebody like that.
If you're believing it, if you're believing the science and you're believing in the Bible,
you guys
send us
your
different
thoughts.
things, you have to figure out where those two merge somewhere, right?
What's that?
If you believe what everything the Bible says, or what the Bible says, and if you believe science, then you don't believe either one of them. You're believing a mixture of both. So there's got to be some type of merger in there at some point in time. Religion has to give up something, and science had to give up something for you to get to that merger. Understand what I'm saying?
I mean,
you're talking about
if they are you talking about if they conflict, or if they?
No, I'm not talking about if they conflict. I'm just talking about to get to a point of opening your mind to believing the Bible, and the Bible telling you that it was created in 7 days, and science saying that it was created over millions of years. And then we had evolution, and we evolved, and which doesn't make any sense either if you go back and look at it, because we evolved from Homo sapiens and and all the.
Does it really say in there the Bible is over 6,000 years old? I don't recall that being.
No, but what I'm saying
in
is,
there. I mean,
you go all the way back to.
I mean, we know when Christ was around. And it was right after during the Roman Empire.
Right.
So I mean, we know it's a part of history. We know that part of history. So, what's transpired before then? I mean, it's not reflected in the Bible. No, I mean,
isn't that the whole Old Testament?
So,
that's everything before him.
Well, it's like I said, these are words written by men that heard either heard the voice of God. Or Christ talked to them, and so this isn't an account of history of the world. It's a history of Christianity,
Correct.
and it really,
I completely agree with that.
So I don't know. I mean,
but again, though,
I don't know how they would.
If somebody's gonna say that I kind of believe in both sides,
yeah,
then. Some of you had to give up some of the religious belief to believe in some of the scientific belief, or you had to give up some of the scientific belief for the religious.
Nothing's conflicted with me. I mean, so far. I mean, history is history. It's written in the Bible, and it's written in our history books, so to speak, somewhat.
Right.
And which research we do on our own, so I mean. Hey, Luke.
He wants in here, doesn't he? He wants in here so bad.
So,
all right,
Don. I got you, buddy. Come on, buddy.
You want to get up there and lay down? All right. But you have to lay down.
Yep.
All right.
Sit down, buddy.
You're good.
So.
Just lay down. No, yeah, but that goes all back into that ancient apocalypse stuff that we were talking about that episode, because it shows how time. I don't want to give away the show or anything, but the guy is basically showing you.
So what do you think
timelines?
What timelines conflict? What timelines conflict? As far as are you talking about the Bible and history,
no,
or are you just
not
talking about
the Bible
science?
at all.
Are
I'm
you
talking about scientifically.
Scientifics in history.
Scientifically.
Or science in the Bible.
Yeah, well, I'm just the dating of stuff. I mean, they're finding stuff now that's 25,000 years ago, 23,000 years ago.
I think that has more to do with our history and archaeology and what we're.
But I mean, that's a big difference than they're saying we only go back 5,000 years or so past the Egyptians and all that. When you're going back 23,000 years, that's a big difference, and that changes a lot of the formation of history, how history became, what was history before that.
Why does that change anything? I don't understand. That's where
Well,
evolution comes into play when you talk about us being 4.5 billion years old.
Well,
All
the
those
planet.
years, all of those years, how further back we keep going. It's just
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. That's scientifically. But those people that were here, if you watch the show, were doing stuff that we couldn't do without machinery and everything else.
Yeah. All right. Well, might as well just dive into this. Then. You already got us into this. So, okay. Let's give them a little synopsis of what you're talking about, Ancient Apocalypse, real quick. Let's just go ahead and dive into that.
Well, basically, it's on Netflix, and it's like what, a 7 or 8 part series. They're like 24 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And Graham takes you
half an
like
hour
7 or 8 different places around the globe.
Yeah.
Where he shows destruction and shows you how people lived and, blah, blah, blah. That's, from what, Biblioteca, the new, where they're doing all these new discoveries and stuff.
Malta,
to Atlantis.
Yes.
That was that one was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. So, yeah, I mean, and this is where the timeline comes in that you're talking about. And it's because we've based all our science on certain things, and then we get to a certain point where we do not want to question those understandings, because if we start to change our understandings, that means our basic beliefs are wrong, and that's hard for people to accept. And that's where this guy's getting all this resistance from the archaeologists and things like that. I mean,
it's basically these archaeologists in Egypt that basically if you prove them wrong, then none of that timeline makes sense in Egypt. Yeah. That's why they don't want to change their timeline, because then none of that makes sense.
He had some great shots in there, man. Overhead drone shots and stuff of the islands. Oh, that's a beautiful place. Some of those places too.
But then that all goes back to what we were talking about before. The series basically goes back to the Bible, in its not in the threshold, but in the meat of the whole story, is the cataclysmic flood that basically every religion has across the globe has a cataclysmic flood.
Yeah.
Now they all have a different survival. Christianity has Noah. The Indonesian one or whatever down the Polynesian islands or whatever. Remember, it was the guy and the girl were clinging to the cliff.
Yes.
Hanging from the cliff or whatever. And their belief and their religious belief, it was just one couple that survived, kind of like an Adam and Eve.
Yes.
And there was a lot of
like
different
Noah,
religions were like that only 1 or 2 people survived. But then it goes on to show you that all of a sudden these people came together, and then all of a sudden these people from the sea started showing up. And it was people from other continents that had survived that were more technology advanced. And I don't mean that in a futuristic type of way, because we've had this discussion before. If we had a nuclear war right now, let's just say, if something stupid, or we had some kind of giant perfect storm weather across the globe or something, and you wiped out 80% or 75% of the population, and you wiped out most of the population of the United States, China, India, Europe, Canada, Russia, all that, and you left just the third world nation area, maybe like South America or part of Africa or something. I know the people there are technologically advanced, and I'm not trying to say that it would, they're behind us or anything else. The whole point I'm trying to make is, back then, if it was geographically like that. If you lost 80% of the population, but 80% of that population included 99.9% of your scientists, your physicists, your inventors, your billionaires.
You're talking about the luck of the draw, though.
Yeah, and you were left with mostly people that were still living on farms, or that were doing agricultural stuff like that. That one of those regions was the only region to survive. It would set your technology back as a whole group, as population. Now this new small population. Now you don't have, welders, and maybe people don't know how to weld. They know what welding is, but they've never done it before. You don't have.
You have to kind of start. You have to start over.
You basically would be starting over. So that's what his thing was, that it's like every 5,000 years it seems to be happening, and it seems to be these people keep leaving us. The last one was leaving us those big carvings and stuff showing the comets coming down and what it was doing, and then he takes you to Turkey where the whole city's underground.
Well, that's when I started telling you. I mean, I believe that. I mean, we've built on civilizations throughout our history. I mean, you had the Great Flood. You had other destructions throughout history and time that empires have fallen, and they're basically buried. Some are now underwater, such as that Atlantis episode, and it kind of explains all that stuff to you, and how it was an actual city down there before the water rose in the flood. So. Yeah, I mean, we build on top of history, so it doesn't surprise me that things are underneath us like they are, and but I don't believe we're going to find some kind of miracle technology buried underneath us from a lost civilization because they were so advanced.
Well, I'm not saying that.
I think that if for instance, there's the one episode where they have those pillars and it looks like a coliseum, and they're lined up in a half circle, but they're 6 feet tall, and
right,
and he kept questioning, well, why are these here sitting like this? But it's almost, and if you look above it, it almost sits like a coliseum, like people were sitting there.
Right.
You'd have to be a tall son of a bitch to sit on a 6 foot
that,
stool.
That
man.
goes into all the history stuff and all the other stuff we've been talking about. It makes no sense. What makes no sense to me is you see these European towns or these Scandinavian towns and all that. It's some of these, castles and all that stuff, and they have these giant doors. Why did they make these giant doors? Giant. Why do they call them giant doors?
What I found was, the other thing I found was interesting with him was they wouldn't let him investigate in certain areas, especially in the U.S.
Right.
U.S. is where he had a real big problem. And
try to go digging around in the Grand Canyon.
Outside, yeah, you were telling me that. Outside the U.S., he didn't have any problems. But inside, for some reason, they just don't want him messing around. And I think it would do us some good to know these things, man, if there's really stuff down there. So, but
well, it just depends on if you're, we got to get that. I mean, people need to be. I don't know why that hasn't been examined. Why we should know everything about America.
Well, we should know as much as we can about our history. Period.
But then you got a lot of these these parks and stuff that they just mandated off as a park or state land, and you can't go on there and do nothing.
But they need to allow scientists and people like that to do their jobs. Now, when they prevent things like that, it makes you start questioning them why, And if they want to keep people from asking so many questions why and creating conspiracies, then you just go, hey, okay, you guys can look, and get it over with.
Yeah, yeah. Ryan brought this up. Did you see this? This was.
What was this?
Okay, they had I think it's the guy from Florida. I think. No, I'm sorry. It's Speaker of the House Mike Johnson goes on like Face the Nation on Sunday morning or whatever, and they're asking him, and Ryan, I want Ryan to play this or whatever, but just listen. That on the left side's going to play first. That was what was actually aired on CBS.
Okay.
And then on the right side, after it's done, it's going to show you the actual tape that they cut it from. And then I think
Full answer I see over there. Okay.
yeah, I'll send you. I'll send Ryan the thing, but play this.
So that's a different accounting than this 2% you say was distributed.
Yeah, so they've obligated some funds, but they've only distributed 2%. The rescue and recovery effort's still going on, and then we address the rest of it.
So that's a different accounting than this 2% you say was distributed.
Yeah, so they've obligated some funds, but they've only distributed 2%. And when I was there on the ground, and you should go, I mean, bring the cameras and talk to the people there. They'll tell you, don't take politicians' words for this or the administration's word. Talk to the people there on the ground. They had not been provided the resources almost 2 weeks out from the storm that they desperately needed. And when I was there, 13 days post the storm hitting that state,
Holy
people
cow.
are still being rescued. They're stuck
People
in
were
the
still
higher
being
elevations of the mountains
rescued
because the roads are
13
down and all
days
the rest.
later.
So they need every available resource and all hands on deck. The rescue and recovery.
the rescue and
efforts still
recovery,
going
and that's where they
on.
cut
And
it
then we
back
address the
on
rest
to
of it.
his.
Wow.
Now, if I sent Ryan the
Yeah, those poor people
actual
down there, man,
transcript, the transcript, because these are people saying that FEMA's saying they're helping these people. So they're not helping these people at all. I sent Ryan the actual transcript, and it shows you how much they cut out, and they cut out the whole part.
that was a
about
lot
them
they
not
cut
helping.
out. Wow. I mean, that was a lot.
They cut out the whole part about all those people not being helped in North Carolina. They wanted the recovery stuff. Did you get that other one? Did you get the picture? Because it's basically of all the stuff that he said or whatever. I mean, they cut out so much of it. This is how they change stuff, and this is how they turn stuff on TV. Because if you read, that's the transcript. I don't know that you can see it there. So all of the red lined, they cut out.
Wow.
So they only use. So it says, well, the FEMA director says there's only $11 billion left from the $20 billion that was allocated. So that's a different accounting than this 2% you say was distributed. And Johnson says, yeah, so they've obligated some funds, but they're only distributed 2%. And then they cut him off and went to down here. And when I was there on the ground, and you should go, bring the cameras and talk to the people there, they'll tell you, don't take politicians' word for it, because they haven't been getting any money or any help from anybody. And it's been 2 weeks, 13 days, and people are still stuck at higher elevations because the roads aren't clear.
Gosh.
And then they wanted, and the rescue and recovery efforts are still ongoing, and then we addressed the rest of it. But FEMA was slow to respond. They did not do the job that was all expected and hoped that they were going to do, But they cut all that out about for 2 weeks. People still haven't been rescued.
So are they still having trouble getting trucks through there now? Are they getting through there? Finally.
FEMA says everything's great.
Well, I don't buy all that.
Well,
I mean, you listen to this.
neither do I, but that's just the politically correct way to say it, because
Man.
I had people sending me,
Yeah, I've seen
FEMA
pictures.
saying that they're spending all this money and and it's.
I've been seeing pictures of that area, and it's just, it's torn
What
up
is
a
this?
mess.
What
What
is
is
this?
this from,
What
man?
is
I've been
this
watching this.
aliens
I've almost
thing?
wanted to laugh like 3 times.
Oh, no, that's from what you were. That's from what you were talking about earlier, whenever you were talking about the technologies and stuff that they had way back. And I just put that up because I thought it was funny. It's the guy from the History Channel long ago. It's been a meme for a long time. That
Well,
Depends on who you believe. Do you believe the guy? Do you believe?
I was talking to my dad about when we were watching the Ancient Apocalypse the other night,
Uh-huh.
and he got in on the last episode, and he was enthralled into it, and then I started asking him questions because I started watching this other thing, and it was about aliens, and I asked him, I said, "What do you think aliens are? Do you think there's aliens?" He goes, and he kind of sat there for a second, and he goes, I don't know if they're aliens or other beings from other dimensions.
Okay.
And he says because ships just don't go from here to here like this. That's a dimensional thing. And I kind of sat back and I was like, huh. That's interesting.
Well,
It makes a lot of sense. So now I've got myself questioning whether there's aliens out in space, or maybe these are dimensional things that we're seeing.
There is I can't remember his name. What is his name?
I'm gonna get us all thrown off here, man.
Oh, Ben Rich. Ben Rich.
The name sounds familiar.
I
What's
sent
that?
Ryan a thing because we're talking about this technology with Ben Rich. Not that one.
Well, that's cool.
Well, yeah, pull up the other one first because I'm going to talk about this. I want to talk about this next. But I see you. Okay, so this is Ben Rich. I think I've sent you this before or whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't understand if people really understand what they're reading.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was the second director at Lockheed Skunk Works, so that was out that was over Area 51. And at an alumni speech at UCLA, he said those exact words. Because somebody asked him, where do you think we will be technology advanced-wise, in 20 years or something? And his answer was, we already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in a black project, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity. And then he said, anything you can imagine, we already know how to do.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, they found parts of ships and things like that, and actual alien beings, I believe, or other dimensional beings. I don't know how to put it now. But
you said that that you watched today or whatever, and you're like,
I believe they've got technology.
But if they've got the technology and they've reverse engineered it, then that guy kind of makes sense what he was talking about today. But I don't know. I have to go and watch all that series. I only watched a little bit of that one.
That guy's a known liar.
All right. I mean, I saw it for like 2 minutes, and I was like, well, I wanted to save it. I think I was going to bed or something, or what. Phone ring or something.
You know what first got me interested in this though was really, you remember that movie back in, I think it was like the late 80s. It's called Fire in the Sky. I don't know if you remember that, man.
Fire in the Sky.
Yeah, and it was based on this case in Washington, and these three men, I think it was three guys, they were coming back from work or coming back from a bar one night, and they were in their pickup truck, and they were coming back, and this big giant light they saw, and they stopped their truck and got out and started looking at it.
You're talking like one of the original ones back in the 60s or 70s.
This was back in the case. The actual event took place in, I think, 1973 or something like that. It was about around the time I was born. Crazy. But this guy disappeared for like 3-4 days, or maybe longer. I can't remember. 3, 4, 5 days, and they thought his friends actually killed him, and they were about to ready to charge their asses and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, this guy just shows back up, and then comes out of the middle of the woods, and he describes this whole event of what they take.
The aliens got him.
Yeah, he was in this. He was in this ship, and he said, and the faces were, they were all. It had that kind of big-headed. And two arms and 2 legs.
He described them and everything.
Yeah, he was able to describe them and everything. It was very interesting, man. Matter of fact, people didn't believe for years, and he didn't talk about it for a while. And I don't know how Hollywood jumped onto it and made a movie, but they'll do anything to make a profit. So
that kind of goes. I mean, I'll give you another one. It's not Graham, but I'll show you this other one that we need to talk about at some point in time. But he supposedly worked at Area 51. So he's been on.
I've seen other
Joe
things.
Rogan and a couple of those other guys.
I've seen other things on Joe Rogan and on other.
So if there's that many people that have said they worked for it, so there had coincidence. When too many coincidences start adding up, things don't add up the right way usually.
Well, I've come to find out that each country actually has their own alien division. Which they study.
I'm sure they do.
China, North Korea, South Korea, Russia. I mean, they all do.
Yeah, I'm quite sure everybody has to have. I mean, because you're looking for the next technology for your war machine.
Yeah. So, what you got up here, man?
No, this is just there was a couple of the history things. But a couple people sent me.
All right, time for some more unique history.
Well, this one was kind of crazy because this is 1902. Montana state capital.
Man. That's
So they
freaking
built
huge.
the Capitol. For my first question is, they built the Capitol before the Capitol?
Yeah.
And are these guys farming
Looks like it.
right in front of the state capitol? My,
Well, that's all that land was up there. I mean, it was
well,
farmland.
that's my question. But it was the Capitol. So
When was it actually established? When was the Capitol established in Montana?
1902.
When did they say? 1902?
With this building, with the building of this building. So that's my question. Founded
So
in
you-
1902.
So you think they built it in a year? Is that what you're saying? You're saying? You don't think they built it in a year?
It's horse and buggy.
I know it's a lot of stone, dog.
My question is,
It's a lot of stone.
founded in 1902
What capital?
or found
Montana.
Montana? It's Montana. That's the Montana state capital, 1902.
What
Founded
city,
in
what city is that, man? I don't
1902?
even know my capitals, man.
Or
I'm horrible.
found in 1902. That's my question.
Oh, so you think that maybe was already there?
I'm not denying or
I'm not agreeing or denying
Yeah,
here.
not
I'm just,
agreeing.
just asking. Wait,
I'm just asking questions.
I got you. I got
So
you.
all these people are living in those little wood huts over there, but they built that. They didn't build a giant apartment building for everybody to live in, but they built the They all moved there and built the Capitol to start the Capitol.
Yeah.
Shouldn't there have been people there
Well,
to
it
make
seems
the
like-
city?
What are you talking about?
It seems like there'd be more people out front of it to show that who built it. But I mean, I
Are
don't
you
know.
talking
I
about
don't.
Helena, Montana, or whatever? The capital?
It's the that's. Oh man, I don't know. I can't remember what the name it was. It's Montana. It's something in Montana.
Do you not know what the capital of Montana is?
Just hang on a second. Yeah, what? I don't remember.
That's what I just said, man. I need to go back to school. I don't even know my
'Cause I don't
capitals.
really understand what you're saying about.
He's thinking
When
this
the-
thing
when
was
the
already
cap-
there.
Man, yeah, it's
He's
like-
thinking this
no,
thing
what
was
I'm
already there
saying is
before
it's
before that was
1902.
established.
Yeah.
The
Who
building
built
was,
that?
The building was built in 1902.
Montana. It's the Montana State Capitol. Just Google Montana.
know.
Montana State Capitol.
Well, it's Helena.
Okay, so it's in Helena, Montana.
Yeah.
Where's the town?
I don't know. I'm assuming somewhere else.
So
in the picture, I don't
you
know.
telling me they just said at some point in time in Florida? Wait,
let's
hang on.
see here,
In
hold on.
Texas, at some point in time, they just said
Well, Helena was.
Austin's going to be the capital, and we're going to build a
Helena's-
Capitol building. But
Helena's
no, there would have
the
been.
capital of Montana since 1875. Okay.
So
Where's the town?
1875. So, well, you got to remember that's very rural area. So, I mean, those people were scattered out everywhere. Now, I mean,
It's- and you needed a
but
big
there was
giant-
always a small little
but you
town
needed-
somewhere.
But you needed a giant building like that.
Yeah, it seems a little bit over over the top for the times.
Look how big that thing is.
Man, I mean, think about it though, man.
How many people were in Montana in 1902?
Think about the Roman Empire. How we built all that crazy
How
crap,
many
man.
people were in Montana in 1902? I'd like to know.
I don't know. That'd be a good question.
Not very many.
So did everybody in Montana build? Did they all come together?
I guess so.
How long does it say it took to build this?
I don't know. It just says it was completed in 1902.
Here we go. You go. How
I
many?
mean, they must have built it in an area where, like, away from the city a little bit, or just like off the outskirts.
I guess.
I mean, I don't know why you would build it in the middle of your city where, like, people are living and stuff. That would
I
make
mean,
a
but
lot of
usually
sense.
most of the Capitol buildings, or most of the capitals, were on. They're an important city. The city.
Well,
was
just the
built
state of
up.
Montana in early 1900, there was
Well,
243,329 people in the
less
state
than-
of Montana.
Less
though.
than 250,000 people.
So
And they
you
built
could probably
that.
but they were spread out though, man. It was spread out.
That's
so.
a 250,000 people, and they built that.
Hey man, we're grotesque.
There's
about
only a
stuff,
million
man. We
people
just-
in
we
Montana
like-
right now.
Well, still, and
We pay
they need a Capitol
$800
building
for
like
a
that.
purse,
You
man.
act like that's like some insane.
$900 for a
feat.
jacket.
That thing is enormous for 1902.
Not really.
Who
Hell,
built
I
that?
saw a pair of shoes in the
People,
store for
what do you
$1,000.
Oh,
Those people are like not even that small compared to the building.
Look at the building. Hey, think about it. Look at the building downtown Dallas.
It's not even that crazy.
It's got the
That's a
same type of
huge
structure.
Yeah.
It's got the same type of structure built. That was a common
Well,
structure theme.
that's what.
But it
what's-
took a lot.
It's weird because all of them have that same dome on the top with the thing. Every one of them.
That's just how Capitol
They
buildings were made.
they took that from a Roman build.
But you could look at that
I mean,
design of
I
buildings
just don't
is
under-
all across the United
I
States.
just I don't understand your idea of like why this building couldn't have been built in 1902
Because
when
where's
the
city?
Romans were building stuff far more impressive. You know, the forts and castles that kings and queens used to build were far more impressive. Like it just doesn't make any sense that
It's
what
the
you're like.
like the
just
thing
not as
in,
many-
like the
it's just
thing
not
in
a lot of
Scotland
people in
that I
that
sent
time.
you. Did you pull that one up? The one in Scotland, that the castle or whatever, that thing's crazy. I mean, it just why would people? If you're Montana and a farmer, you're taking care of your land. You're not going over there to build this giant building.
We're on YouTube. We can say fuck.
Giant building that is going to be possibly used in 50 years from now.
Yeah. It's overly
Well, it was
grotesque,
being used-
but
it was
we always
being
build
used
stuff
after it
like
was
that.
built. What do you mean?
I guess. I mean, for 250,000 people, they needed a whole lot of rooms and everything for all the departments, I guess. I don't know.
I
But
don't know. I don't know what your like unfascination or whatever. Is.
My fascination is I just don't. There doesn't seem like from these people in that at that time that we're taught what those people were capable of and what they were doing doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it's just
That would take. How many people
Yeah,
do
it
you
does.
think that
I
would
mean-
take to build?
Yeah, that would
You-
probably
you
take
act
I
like
don't
it
know
was
anywhere.
built in a day or something.
Probably take about I don't know anywhere from
And how many?
500 to 2,000 people, and you got to remember. There are a lot of people looking for work in those rural areas. They
Well,
can't.
okay,
They
okay,
would
I know,
camp
I
up.
got you.
They would
I
camp
got
up
you.
and build for
2,000
days.
2,000 people.
You
I think
know,
you would need
you
maybe
build a town
I think you would need
just doing that.
I think you would need more like 25,000 people
Well,
to build something that
I mean,
big.
I could be grossly under evaluating it, and I probably am because they usually built little towns when they were building these giant.
Well, we've talked about that
atrocities.
before. There's a couple of buildings there, nothing else.
Yeah,
It's not like that's what I'm saying. I could understand if there was a town there,
There is a town.
a big town.
well, maybe that's where they were
Because if
intending.
it was the-
That's where they were intending to make their capital. So
Yeah, but see, that doesn't make sense either. Because all these states were in existence before they joined us, before they joined the United States, correct?
Yeah.
They were states.
yeah,
So they all had their own constitution, everything else, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
They were all set up. But all those major
really.
cities, the capital cities, were all they were your trade
I think
routes.
you have
they
things
were
out
on
of order. Montana was a territory in 1875, and Helena
Okay.
was its capital then.
I completely
And
understand.
when
that.
did Montana join?
I have no idea.
1889. So the capital was already established for the territory before it even joined the U.S.
So they were building it in 1870, and it didn't get finished until 1902.
No. When they decided that the Helena was going to be the capital, they built the Capitol building in like the 1900s.
2 years or so. So that would have taken a whole heck of a lot of people, moving a lot of resources. Where's the railroad that was moving all this stuff?
well, I mean,
in?
they were a lot of times.
Where's the railroad that's moving all this stuff in? Because
I don't know. I don't know where the railroad went through up that way. Ron had to look that up. I know it went
that's
up.
what I
through,
mean.
I know it went up
Most
through
of these
Kansas.
capital cities would be like
I know it went
big
Kansas,
trade routes.
north and south. I don't know how it departed east and west that way.
And it's hard to judge by stuff
They
like
probably
this.
had- I would've-
There's other pictures of this that I've looked at or whatever
So
where
it
the
says the
cities and stuff.
construction was done in 1896 to 1902.
Okay.
So what?
So that's about 6 years. Yeah.
6 years. That's still
And then it's even bigger now because there was wings added and everything else.
right.
But it took 6 years to build that. I mean, that's nothing crazy. I mean, 6 years to build that seems pretty normal to me.
Well, yeah, it does with the technology we have today.
Even back then. The Romans and everybody else were building things bigger than that. Like you talk about the Roman Colosseum and stuff. That puts that thing to shame. And they've been. You're talking about horses
My
and
next
buggies
question
and
is who
everything
paid
else.
for it?
Well,
The
probably
state at
Montana
that
when it
time.
became a state.
It's that time. It was a state, I think. Wasn't
Yes,
it? 18,
1889 or whatever is when Montana.
How much?
joined.
How much did it say they cost them to build this?
But as a
It'll
as a
tell you.
territory, they still governed themselves as a government.
It's not as
entity.
much as it costed.
They
today.
weren't. They weren't a.
Oh no,
Huh?
no. He said it wouldn't cost you as much to do it today. I said no, it costs you way more to do it today. But I guarantee you, it costs a ton of money. That would 250,000 people paying for that.
It costed 540,000.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's what it says.
I don't think so.
Today it'd be like, I don't know, what, 5 point.
Yeah,
4
back
billion.
then that's probably that's probably $1 billion back then.
$1 billion. You're high.
1902. Jeez. But
Wallace Monument.
Is
this,
this even a real thing?
yeah. Look, what? This is a real thing.
I've never heard of this ever.
I never had it too, and somebody sent it to me, and they were like, "Have you looked at the Wallace Monument in Scotland?" I said, "I've heard of it. I've never looked looked into the." You probably need to find you need to probably pull up go to YouTube or something and just pull up
That's a crazy design, man.
a
Look
video
at that.
of the monument. Probably somebody's got a little video of it or whatever. Yeah, it's and
Very detailed and intricate.
yeah. And when was this built? Probably in the 1300, 1400s or something. When we had all this. Who built that?
Man, look at the structure on that.
Yeah,
That bottom left hand corner.
Just the farmers that were
the
living in the
arch.
farms and stuff
It was
like
built
that.
in 1869, but it took 8 years to build.
Here we go with another one of these right around 1860, 1870, 1890s, right before the turn of the century. Look at who would have built that? Why would you build that?
It's not. It's a monument commemorating.
So somebody
So
built.
it's a monument.
Somebody built a monument.
You better understand your history
Sir
here, man.
William Wallace.
Sir William Wallace. This is it.
It's to commemorate him.
Yeah, it's
He was a
commemorate
hero
him.
to the Scottish.
He's a hero to the Scottish. So, don't jack with him, man.
I'm not jacking with him.
We'll get all
I'm
kinds
just
of
saying
emails.
the
The
Scottish
crazy
didn't
thing-
build that.
the crazy thing is the
for
cost.
Wallace. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
How much was the
But yeah,
cost?
It says it
$10,000?
18,000 euros.
18,000 euros to build that.
It
Sure.
says on
Now that's
on
funny.
Wikipedia it says 1.8 million now in 2024. I mean it's like stone. I mean it's not like anything like.
What? They didn't just get the Scotland. Have you been to Ireland and Scotland? There's
No,
just
you
not
never took me.
stone laying around like quarries like this. So that had to
It
have been
takes a lot of
cut
work to get
somewhere
that stuff
and
out there,
hauled it there.
It's sandstone.
Somebody had to haul that there. I don't care. The stone had to be hauled to that location to be built.
Okay.
That's a lot of stone, and those aren't small stones.
That's cool. That's an interesting one there.
It
man.
is. It's really cool. I need to watch some, and do some more reread about it or whatever. Because somebody just sent it to me. I sent it to Ryan right before the show. I was just like, wow, that I'd heard about it and I'd seen like pictures of it, but the pictures like how tall it is and all that. And
Yeah.
like Ryan, I mean, if Ryan found some other ones, the thing is enormous.
It's
not
220 feet.
It's just not like a turret I mean, was that? They didn't build that as a monument. That might have been something to, like a lighthouse, or it could have been something that they were looking out for.
No, that was a monument. That was something they built for that guy, man.
That
Now
goes-
maybe they intended to
The
use it for
history
something
here
else.
says the tower was constructed following a fundraising campaign which accompanied a resurgence of Scottish national identity in the 19th century. The campaign was begun in Glasgow in 1851 by Reverend Charles Rogers.
That's pretty cool, though.
And it was just built as a monument. It's a sandstone tower that stands 220 feet, and it took 8 years to build.
It's beautiful. I just don't think that's what it was built for, to be a monument. But that's just my person.
Man, we have a way of building, like I say, grotesque
That's like
things
saying,
to
when
honor
we built the
people,
Lincoln
man.
Monument,
I mean,
you
look
think it was
at
built
look in
for
front of all
something
these
else?
football
Like-
stadiums. You have all these.
Or
You
the
have all these.
Washington Monument?
I mean,
Yeah, Washington Monument.
Well, that goes into like the Great Wall. And what I don't understand about the Great Wall,
What, Great Wall of China?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The Great Wall of China, and there's only one thing.
I'm like Great Wall.
I mean, it's the same
Make
thing
sure
like
I'm,
this.
make sure I'm
Who
doing
who
right
built
here,
the
man.
Great Wall of China back in 1100 or whatever it was? How many people? That thing is miles and miles and miles.
It was a lot
But
of
the-
dead slaves.
But what the
and
actually
everything
Yeah, it
else.
was-
what's actually weird
built
about the Great Wall, that the towers for the people
Yeah.
and all that stuff, where you would like a lookout post and where you could shoot and where is not trying to keep somebody from getting into China. It's all on the opposite side where they built that wall. If you actually look at the construction of the wall, it's like if you put a metal fence up, chain link fence, and you put barbed wire on roll it, and it's always at the top inside because they're trying to keep people from getting out, not getting in. If they're trying to keep you from getting in, they put barbed wire, they roll it on the outside of the fence.
Yeah.
So all the stuff on the Great Wall of China, all the defensive parts where you could shoot, aim, look, all the walk, it's all looking into China. They're all, what they say is they built that wall to keep Mongolian invaders from getting into. The wall, if you look at it, is actually somebody built it to keep somebody in China in.
I don't know. That doesn't make sense. But
Seriously, if you look at the placement, all of it, and there's 4 or 5 archaeologists out there that I've read the thing about, says that if you look at the side of where, like if you're
I
going
don't know
along,
enough
if
about
you're going,
Chinese
if you're going
history
along
to
the,
tell you,
along,
yeah.
what
if
they're
you're
talking
going
about
along
is
the
like
wall,
the sides of the walls. That one side seems to be taller than the other, so it makes sense that like the defense would have been on that side. Is what he's trying to say.
and when it's high like that, it's
And
got a windows
only-
where you can look
it's
out.
Only
Where
in like, it's only in like small certain sections.
it's
Most
the
of-
whole wall.
It's not.
It is the whole.
There's
wall.
pictures of all the wall just about everywhere.
Most of the
that
wall
don't
is built
add up like
to
that.
keep to where you can be attacking or defending from, looking out or whatever.
Yeah.
Is stationed on the opposite side of the wall, which you would be keeping somebody in China, not out.
I got you.
Like if you went along a fort wall, at the top of the fort wall, you had bows and arrows and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
You usually walk around the top. Or
It's
you
going
walk
to be
around-
higher on one side because that's your defensive side, where
Yeah.
you're going to have
so
holes
is it
where you
flip
can
backwards
shoot.
or something?
Yeah, that's all on the inside. Like if you're walking along
So it's
the
a straight,
wall,
it's a straight wall on the inside, and it's the lower on the outside.
some of it.
Oh,
some
here,
of
pull it
goes.
up, man.
There's
Bingo.
The wall's the same size on both sides in most sections.
Oh,
of
it
the
does.
wall.
It runs the same on the way.
It's
in
certain
some
certain
sections.
sections of the wall that he's talking about. In that it hasn't. It's probably just placement or whatever they built during that time, but it's complete nonsense.
If
is
you
it
read
is.
what the papers say, the 6 guys that walked the whole thing and they did an archaeological
Because there's also
study,
sections of the
there
wall
was
that have
the more
no
percentage
no sides,
of the wall is on the inside, defensive fortified is inside the ring, and more than it's only about 30% that's on the outside. And they say that's from elevation changes where they
That
don't.
could be just bad build.
Well, no, it's like this.
Or
They don't need to
or
make an
deterioration
offensive. They don't
over
need to
time.
make an offensive or defensive thing on this top right corner thing because it's a slope just goes straight down for 500, 600 feet. That's
Yeah.
why the wall's the same height there. But where they have people that are coming would have concentrated an attack or anything. That's where it's set up. That it's set up to keep somebody in China, not keep something out of China. That's what, if you read the whole guy's paper, a lot of it is all even and stuff like that, but it's places where it's impossible to attack from because you'd have to basically be climbing up ropes or something like that. But when it gets to a choke point where they would have had to come into attack, where it's level enough to get up there and all that kind of stuff, that all the defensive stuff's on the inside, which doesn't make any sense. It's like putting barbed wire on the inside of the China Wall so nobody would climb out, instead of putting it on the outside of the Great Wall so nobody would climb in.
It looks like a wall to me, man.
No, it's a giant wall. But that goes back again to stuff like this. Who built that?
And it took a lot of people. And
It's-
like you said, he
this-
said
this is-
slaves. I
that's
think
it.
it was
This is
probably
what he's
slaves.
talking
There was a lot of
Ton of people.
slavery going on during that time period. So
This is what he's saying.
Yeah, I guess.
what's he talking about now? China, Russia. Okay.
So
Okay.
But the thing is like this picture could be fake. It's from X. It's bullshit. Like
Who
There's
knows?
there's different places on the wall where it's set up where it
Yeah, but I
looks
would-
like the wall was built to keep somebody in and not protect about somebody getting out. That was what was just weird. It was just another pic. I read. I like to
I don't
read.
know. Yeah. It is a weird thing. It's on the wrong side of the wall.
See, but that makes no sense. If you're looking towards the Russian side, why would you have? If you were China, why wouldn't you have those opening slats where you could shoot
Yeah, I
out
get
and
you.
stuff on the other
It
side?
should be reversed.
Right.
I get you.
And there's places along the wall that are like that, where there's choke points where the ground gets level enough for
Yeah.
where
see
they
that.
could attack. It's something just as I need to read more about it. I need to do more research about it. It's interesting that even any of it has a defensive on the other side. That doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I need to
See,
research.
this is exactly what I'm talking about.
We have a.
Anybody can lie about anything on the internet. That's my whole point. Is like
I'm not just talking about this picture.
that's what this is what you saw at some point, and you were talking
This
about.
is
it.
not what I saw at all.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It's exactly
No,
what you
this
saw.
is not what I saw.
Gotta
I
be
don't even
careful
have
them,
X.
Them deep
So
fakers,
I'm not on
man.
Twitter, so I didn't see any of this.
This is probably
We just
on
got
TikTok
hoodwinked.
or something else that you saw.
And
We just got
And
space.
what's really funny about it is I don't believe the guy that's contradicting him because that doesn't that he's could be just a paid
man,
shield
don't
just
start
like the
getting
rest of them.
the internet, because you can end up in a
Yeah.
mind fuck
Yeah,
of a
you
battle.
I know.
So-
So you know what I need to do? I need to go out to the Great Wall of China and take my own.
There we go.
That's what
So
I need
we're gonna
to
have to do some trips, like we're gonna be doing here soon. Anyhow, we need to go this weekend out to the Halloween
we do
haunted
for
house this
Halloween.
weekend. So
All right. I
juicing
mean,
that up.
this was interesting today. This was
Just a little free flow, kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of jumped a bunch around on a bunch of stuff, and I don't know if we ever came to any conclusions at all, which is sometimes might be the better.
No, sometimes I just like
The
to spit it out there.
The viewers can give us their
So,
conclusions.
Yeah, they
you
can give us
yeah,
their
they
conclusions.
can. I mean, and
Sometimes
we
I
get-
just like to talk,
and
hear my own voice.
yeah, and
So we appreciate y'all checking us out and
Appreciate
listening. We will catch y'all here again the next time. Until then, my friends,
peace.
peace.
Well, we're going to bring a lot to you, man. So y'all just stay tuned and be prepared.